Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to our lovely podcast. It's People, a global English journey. Okay, thank you very much for the appreciation, and allow me to introduce myself before. My name is Nadia Ratuljana, and all of you and all of the participants here can call me as Nadia or Rao. So we are going to having our wonderful discussions that I'm sorry. So we are going to having our big discussions and also wonderful discussions with our wonderful speaker today from Adamson University, right? And Mr. Okabe and also Mr. Nikki. Okay, so before that, without any further ado, I'm going to asking you guys, can you guys introduce yourself or talking a little bit about your culture's background before we start?
Okay, hi, hello everyone. My name is Yursi Spencer, but I go by the name Okabe because my cultural background, I was originally born in the Philippines. I'm a Filipino citizen, but I embrace more of my Japanese heritage side.
Okay, so right, can one with you, Sir Nick?
Good day to everyone. My name is Nick. I usually go by Nick, but this time I'm going by Nikki.
Okay.
It's okay. My full name is Nikita Surugin. I come from Russia, and this is pretty much it. I'm 21 years old. I'm also a student at Adamson University, and we are both of the program, which is Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English.
Okay, all right. Which one do you like? Should I call you Nikki or Nick?
This time, let's do it Nikki.
Okay, Nikki. Okay. Whenever you go to Indonesian, I call you Nikki.
Okay.
It's good. Okay, all right. So before that, I'm going to asking you like, have you got lunch before? Like, can you tell me about what is the menu of your lunch today, guys?
We haven't had lunch yet. So,
For real?
yeah, so the menu is emptiness. It's not lunch.
It's just digested roasted bread
Okay.
with Nutella.
All right. So, is it okay if we're going to start our discussion, but you or guys like feel starving?
Yeah, I would actually
Okay, that's good. Okay, so anyway, we're going to the main discussion that talking about how culture is exactly shape language learning and also teaching. And I'd like to ask for Mr. Okabe first. Like, I'm curious about what is exactly how does person culture influence the way they learn the language. For examples like in English.
Yeah, especially if like let's use Philippines and Japan as an example. In the Philippines, in our culture, we are supposed to learn English as our second language because of the history, the colonialism, the U.S. So English was pretty much integrated in our society in the Philippines. In Japan, it's much more of a different case. It's not really something that Japanese people really look forward into learning to.
Okay.
Because at the end, they're just going to be studying in Japanese only setting. So let's put it here in Indonesia. It's sort of similar with Japan, but I think it's also changing a bit similar to the Philippines, mainly because students, their courses, they want to go around the world, tourism, hospitality, culinary. So yeah, I'm starting to see the changes. Students are learning English as their second language, at least in here.
Okay, so that's it. And what about your experience?
Based on my experience, in Russia, English is taught as a foreign language, pretty much the same as it is taught here, but still I can find a lot of differences in how it's taught and in the approaches as well. In Russian culture, English is considered to be a key to exit Russia. And many young people usually really want to learn English to exit Russia, to fly away from Russia, to visit different countries, or to actually migrate to different countries abroad. which can be in Europe, which can be in Africa. Some people go to Africa, and that's why they need English, because English is the key to, you know, to see the world.
Okay.
Actually, as a matter of fact, in Adamson, we say that English is our passport.
Okay. English is our passport. That's a good one. Okay. So, Adamson University is one of the university at Philippines, right? So, I hear that the two main language of Philippines peoples is using Tagalog and also English.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm morely curious about how did you guys know about a little bit language about Tagalog language? I mean.
Yeah. As in my case, as someone who has lived in the Philippines and knows the language. Yeah, and what do you call this? The Tagalog is much difficult for me.
Oh, difficult for you. Okay.
Because
To be honest.
to be completely honest with you, I'm just on a basic level.
Okay,
if we're
basic level
if
one.
we're statistically comparing this. My Tagalog is, you know, I can just understand basic things, what they're saying, at least. Thankfully, because in an academic setting, it's going to be a struggle if you cannot understand Tagalog. As for English, well, partly due to my parents.
Okay.
Especially my mother, she was in the UK, and also my father's side relatives, like my grandmother, they went to the UK as well, and then they came back. They were like, "You need to teach Spencer English, so when he gets older, he can use it."
Okay, that's it. Oh my goodness. Okay, and what about you, Mr. Nicky?
My case is totally different because I came to the Philippines with zero knowledge of the Philippines.
Okay.
I think I came to the Philippines. I had visited the Philippines twice before. It was in 2017 and 2018.
Whoa.
So it was before COVID. And back at that time, I had been to a different island in the Philippines where they speak different language because there are maybe, he can help, maybe hundreds of dialects.
170 plus dialects.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really hard for
That's a lot.
them. Yeah, that's right. And that's really hard for them to find communication between each other. That's why they have Tagalog and English. One of my friends from a different island told me that he knows English better than Tagalog.
Wow.
So so they have two keys of connection. They can connect via English or Tagalog. It
Okay.
depends on their choice. So coming back to my arrival to the Philippines, I came to Adamson, I think in 2022. I applied when it was COVID, so I had my first year online, and I could come to the Philippines and travel to the Philippines in 2022 after the COVID restrictions eased up. And I knew zero Tagalog, so I thought that it wouldn't be a problem because English is widely spoken there.
Okay.
So there are hundreds and thousands of foreigners who live in the Philippines with zero knowledge of Tagalog. So it's really easy to not just survive, but to live. To prosper without knowing Tagalog, because English is widely spoken everywhere. And you can connect with everyone in the university, outside of the university, just basically anywhere.
Okay.
It was easy for him to like go around.
So I would like to say lucky for you guys to got into Philippines that people normally using English on their everyday. So, okay, so for the next one, I'm curious about can you all guys also before that one, you guys having your experience like you maybe it crossed on your mind like this is kind of different like between Indonesian education and also the Philippines. And can you guys telling us about what is exactly the difference education or especially for the English language lessons between the Philippines and also the Indonesian education?
Okay, so first of all, I'd say that the articles, the texts for the English classes in Indonesia are a little lacking because it's mostly local textbooks that they're given. Not Oxford, not Cambridge, all those kinds of books that have much higher level and they give more emphasis on the language. And I also noticed that a lot of like students only rely on the sound. Because, for example, when I was observing my class with my cooperating teacher, they were supposed to recite English words, 20 English words, as including the Bahasa translation of those English words. And I noticed, why is cough spelled like K-A-F-T?
Yes.
Yeah, but the correct spelling is C-U-G-H.
Okay.
So
Alright.
there was a lot of cases like that, but I'm not judgmental. I'm a teacher, so I did my job. I told them after they recited the word, okay, you did great, your pronunciation is on point. However, I'd like to point out to you that your spelling here in your note is incorrect. It should be written like this. I wrote the correct words, and then again, I gave them another positive thing to say that again, you did great. Your pronunciation is fantastic, but work on your spelling.
Okay. And what about you, Mr. Nicky?
Based on my observations, students here, I would like to start with students first and then translate to English. Students here seem to be more disciplined in a way, because in the Philippines, they usually interact a lot with the teacher in a very, very friendly manner. Sometimes it's just
I see.
the boundaries erased. But here they do not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here there is a strict, I feel like there's a strict definition of a teacher and a student. That's what I like personally. And talking about how English is taught here and how English is studied here, I can say that it looks like the Philippines, but the students and their capabilities are not like in the Philippines. Because English is treated here as a foreign language, right?
Yes.
But it's taught as a second language. And it's a very, very big mistake, as I think.
Yes.
Because as Spencer mentioned earlier, there are different publishers like Oxford, Cambridge, Pearson from different countries who provide books about English teaching for foreign speakers. But here, they are not used that much, or at least in the school that we visited, they are not used at all. That's why it makes it a little bit complicated for students to actually grasp what they have to learn.
Right. So after this, Mas Azam, we should going to upload this video to the government that's talking about it.
Sure.
Because that absolutely a good advice for us.
Sure.
All right. So for the next questions, I will be talk about what special aspect of your cultures do you bring into your own way of teaching English?
Well, for me, I was actually surprised to find that. What was it called? English. Salim. I was actually surprised to find that Salim, especially your elders, is like also present here in Indonesia. In the Philippines and in Japan, we also do the same, like a place with our elders. Like when, well, at least here in Indonesia, before the classes start, like in the morning, teachers are going to stand on the lobby, and then students are going to come by and then do the salim with the teacher. In the Philippines and in Japan, we just kind of go into the classroom, wait for the teacher to come in, and do the greetings. And that was pretty much it. And so I was surprised to
All right.
And another cultural thing I brought upon with me is bowing.
Bowing.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's been a big part of me. I get bowing to people for appreciation, sorry, or basic. It's a basic gesture.
Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting you first, but isn't bowing as one of the Japanese cultures either?
Yes.
Okay, so.
So yeah, there's actually a different and the angles. It has different meanings.
Oh, okay, I see. That's a new one.
Like I think 50 degrees like this is just thank you, and then 45 is like sorry.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So what about you, Mr. Nicky?
If you don't mind me asking, what was the question again?
Okay, so I'm going to repeat one more time. The aspect of your culture that bring you into your own way of teaching in English.
In my culture in Russia, when it comes to school subjects, when it comes to studying, it's usually expected. It's usually like that there are high expectations from you. They're really, really high expectations from you. And in our classrooms, students are usually silent. So it's usually teacher-centered, and students listen all the time. They don't really practice that much. If they do, they come in front of the class and practice individually. But when it comes to my culture and how I try to incorporate in my own teachings, I want to give my students more times to individually do their work, despite it not being present in my demo teaching. But still, of course, especially when it comes to my online job, especially where I teach students online, where I teach adults online, I try to give them as much individual work as possible. Individual work is something that raises resilience in you, because once you go out of college, go out of school especially, you need to be resilient. You need to face the challenges and the realities that are out there, and individual work usually helps with that. And I also try to, you know, when it comes to my culture and what I bring in my classes, I try to raise the discipline in the classroom. It's hard to raise a discipline in the Philippines because they are much more loose in a way.
Yeah.
But here I think it's something that really helps the teacher and helps the students as well to study better, because the more disciplined you are, I think initially, first of all, being disciplined while you study is the key of studying, I think, because you don't really go to school to have fun. You go to school to study, to get new knowledge. And being disciplined helps you later in your job, in your other studies in college, because there's also a saying in Russia, and a lot of teachers in Russia, they say something like this: while you're at school, of course, you get a lot of help from teachers, you get help from your parents, and teachers usually want you to have better grades. But when you go to college, you are responsible for your grades, for your studies on your own, and there is nobody to help you, nobody to give you a helping hand, and nobody is really interested in seeing you succeeding, because usually it happens in a way that you pay, you study. You don't pay, or you fail, you don't study. That's it. But in school, of course, in school it's important to have that discipline, at least a pinch of discipline, to make students perform well and succeed in their studies.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that in the Philippines, they really wanted to integrate fun as part of the learning experience. But I think the problem is they are too much freedom for the students. So the discipline in the Philippines is not really that strong as much as in Russia. And in Japan, it's also almost the same case with Russia, that discipline is always a must. So yeah, I actually agree with his point that discipline is a must in education in schools, because it's also vital for the kids, for the students, when they grow up, they how to manage themselves. But at the same time, I also want the students and kids to also experience fun, even though it's like an academic setting. It's always serious, but so just some sprinkle of fun is, I think that would be the perfect right balance of discipline and a fun learning experience.
Speaking of fun, that's why fun what used to be included in the slogan of the Philippines, in the trial slogan. It's more fun in the Philippines.
Yeah.
It used to be their trial slogan. I don't know about the current one. But anyways, yeah, fun is really, really evident, especially in learning. I don't think there should be a lot of fun in learning, because learning is something that you really have to work hard on.
Yeah.
Okay, so discipline itself is having a lot of how do you say about that, impact for some stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move to the next question. That all of you guys, during your C teachers experience, have you ever feel that your culture's background is really completely really how do you say about that? Completely really impact with your connection with your students. For examples, like you're from Japan, your cultural background is from Japan, really connect, really impact to my students, or even like the same the way Asian cultures background really impact to my students, or something kind of stuff like that. Can you explain about that?
Yeah, actually, when I introduced myself as someone who's of Japanese heritage to the class, some of my students, especially the boys,
Yep.
they were quite intrigued with the fact that standing right there before them,
Yeah.
that their teacher sometime in next week is from the Philippines, who is of Japanese heritage, and they were like curious to find out.
Yeah.
But the problem is with those boys specifically, they were quite noisy in the class, kept asking questions, being, undisciplined. That's like the.
Okay.
I think that was like the only experience I've had here of like students who are actually undisciplined, despite us, knowing that Indonesia is very well disciplined. Of course, there's always going to be bad apples, and I actually used that to my advantage, especially when my students were like silent, they're shy. When I'm asking a question, I go for an icebreaker, like, okay, class, what's your favorite anime? What's your favorite J-pop song? What's like your favorite Japanese food? Like, what's favorite Japanese place to visit? And things like that. So I used that to my advantage. Same with the Philippines as well. Like, you guys know that we have the same word as kaliwa?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Right. So what about you, Mr. Nick?
Well, I'm not sure that my cultural experience and my cultural background really helped me to connect with students because, as I had already said before, as I had told you, we are very different. I'll just give you an example. In Indonesia and in the Philippines, and I think in Southeast Asia, teachers are the ones to motivate students and to encourage them to learn, while in Russia, students are expected to be motivated and encouraged to study and learn. So in a way that the teacher is not the entertainer, but the facilitator, the educator, the guide, but not the one who just gives you energy, gives you empowerment to study, to start study. No, it happens in a way that you come to classroom, you greet the teacher, you stand up, greet the teacher, there's an attendance check, and then you start working. Without any games, without any shows, without any performances, fireworks, nothing. You just start working. That's it. But as a teacher, you really have to be flexible. And of course, I'm a teacher, I'm flexible. And I just adjust my ways of teaching. And of course, I cannot really project and I cannot really give my background from Russia to Indonesian students because that's going to be very, very strict.
Okay.
So I have to, kind of get the model of yours and apply that to me. And then if I have something to adjust, if I have something to modify, of course I'll edit that. But without really imposing them to solely my culture.
Okay.
So adding to that, I actually like in the Philippines, motivation is like the biggest part and when it comes to lessons. So I actually integrated that into my class, and suffice to say, it actually went well. I actually got the attention of my students because they're saying that motivation is the most important thing in the class. Because if your students don't listen to you in your motivation, then chances are they're not going to listen to you for the entirety of the lecture. So when I did my second class, I did my motivation, and it was actually fun. And the students enjoyed the motivation, and they were actually into it when we transitioned into the lesson into itself. They were actually actively participating. They actually, when I tell them to read what's written on the projector, they read it out loud, and then I try to emphasize it to how to pronounce it correctly, and they do it. No hesitations. And they aren't really shy. But I think one of the main criticisms that one of my cooperating teachers said that maybe you should have them do the the reading of the projector
Mm-hmm.
individually. Because
Okay.
if it's the entire class, everyone's just gonna do it
Yeah.
at the same time. But
It's a bit too crowded.
it's better to have an individual student to
Mhm.
say it, so they get practice,
Okay.
they encourage, and you actually see if they're actually listening or not.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay. Right, that's a good one. And I'm going to talk about the challenging.
Yeah.
What exactly the challenging have you faced in crossing cultural or language barriers as a English major and a future teacher?
I think one of the biggest challenge I faced here was last week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Last week.
yeah, on Monday, of course. It
Uh-huh.
happened on Monday, the most day in every week. And after my observation, I was approached to Sir Tabe, can you teach for tomorrow? There has been some adjustments, and I needed to teach tomorrow. And I was completely shocked by that development because I prepared for the lesson plan. I prepared for my class on Friday,
Okay.
not on Tuesday. The Tuesday one was an impromptu class, and that was really a shock to me. And I also had to prioritize my daily journal, my after action report, my blog, because I have a lot of requirements to comply with. So yeah, the problem was that on Tuesday, day I'm supposed to teach, I went to observe with his class, but I told his cooperating teacher that I need to work on my lesson plan in the library. I did manage to get a lesson plan crafted, but my execution, it just didn't went into it just wasn't up there. I felt disappointed and I felt overwhelmed, but thankfully I have a student buddy, Farik, right here.
Oh, yeah.
If it wasn't for him, that class would have been a disaster because he was translating it, he was assisting me with the class, and eventually the students actually got the grasp of the objectives. But my execution of the rest of the lesson, the lecture, it was underwhelming for my part. I think that's another thing that teachers also face. In reality, there will always be adjustments unexpectedly. Like some teachers are not going to show up; they're going to be somewhere else, and you have to substitute, take over for that class. So you have to be really prepared for those kinds of things. And I do understand that they approach me because it's good for experience. It's actually our professors, one of our professors in the Philippines' favorite sentence.
Yeah.
It's for the experience. So yeah, it kind of irks us both, but it's pretty vital for us both to actually learn something about it. And yeah, eventually that was an experience for me, and I adjusted that for when my first class and final demo on Friday happened. It went smoothly.
Okay. I can feel that one. Okay, so what about your perspective?
Okay. So the question was about the cultural and
Challengings.
language barriers that if I faced them. I can't say I faced any cultural barriers because the culture here is in some ways familiar with the Philippines culture. The thing is that it's different in a way that you greet each other, like how the teachers greet students. But it's okay, of course, I respect it, I participate in it, and it was our must to participate in it, so okay, no problem with that. But when it comes to language barriers, of course, the language barriers are supposed to occur and supposed to exist. Especially in a setting where country doesn't really have English outside of the classroom. I haven't seen that much of English outside of the school where I worked. Maybe in some tourist places, but it's for the tourists. Maybe in some other shopping malls or somewhere else, but again, it's for the tourists.
Okay.
But yeah, there were some occurrences where I actually interacted with English, like in a cafe. For some reason, here people name dishes. Some dishes are in Indonesian, some dishes are in English.
Yes.
My Val told us that it's to make dishes fancier.
It's a marketing scheme.
It's a marketing scheme, yeah. So that's why the dishes that are in English, I buy them.
Okay.
So maybe marketing works. When coming back to language barriers with students, with teachers, I don't think there are any language barriers with those who can speak English, who can understand English. Of course, if people can really speak English that well, they would instantly say that.
Yes.
I can't speak English very well, but it turns out that they can speak English well, so it's not a big problem. You can speak slower if they ask, or if you feel like it, of course you speak slower to make them or to let them understand you. Coming back to students, or the main topic of today, and the classroom itself, I'd say that there are students who are the strong ones. They are the ones who we met on our first day of arrival to school. There were 3 girls, and the 3 of them were speaking English very well. Like I felt like I'm back in the Philippines speaking English without any problems, communicating with people without any hesitations, problems, barriers. But that's because, as I did my research, that's because those who speak English well, they use English somewhere outside of their school. For example, somebody can connect with other people outside of Indonesia on Discord or other social medias or other apps, games, whatever it is. So, luckily we have our student buddies here who can help us a lot, and I consulted with my student buddy Rafik a lot about different matters of what culture is here, or what aspects of culture can I incorporate in my teachings, and that way I could understand the culture better and to make my classes better, of course. And and that's why I don't think that culture and the culture barrier ever existed. Language barriers, of course, but that's why we could translate some sentences, at least some sentences, from English to Bahasa Indonesia, and that's it.
Yeah, our teaching experience it was okay, but it was better because the presence of our student buddies, Kyle, Haza, Rafik. If it wasn't for them, I think we would have been lost actually. Fal was like, he gave me like, oh, this is a bit too complex for them. Maybe you could shorten it. Also, modulate your voice, but also at the same time try not to sound intimidating. And also like, just be more approachable. Val told me about those kinds of things, so I adjusted, and the final teaching for me actually went really smoothly.
Right. Okay, that's a good one. And I'm curious about how do you guys feel being multicultural?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. I'd like to start. Okay. Being multicultural is something that I really wanted to achieve.
Yep.
That's why I left Russia and I went to the Philippines
Oh, that's a good one.
multiple times.
Okay.
Because I think being multicultural, especially in the 21st century, is something that you should really achieve and you should really look for. Because being stuck in your... I can't say that being stuck in your culture, but looking for something more
Okay.
is like really motivating, and it gives you more understanding of what happens outside of your country. Because sometimes it's not really enough to get a grasp of the thinking of your own people, but to understand how other people in the world think. Especially, you can see that when you watch Hollywood movies, when you listen to American rap, American music, or recently many African music start to appear. Much of African music start to appear on charts, and it gives you understanding of how the world really looks like. Because the world doesn't revolve around your own language and your own country. And you have to understand that in order to respect people who come from different countries and visit your country, it's really, I'd like to give an example. It's really evident in some countries, or it's really evident in some nations. I noticed that in the Philippines, some white foreigners come to the Philippines and they show disrespect, apparently, because they feel superiority over superiority complex. That's right. I don't have that. I wasn't raised in a way to have it, but I just feel like I'm a person. I don't really think about nation, color, anything. I want to connect with people, and we have this bridge between us, English. That's how we can weigh our ideas, and that's, I think, the importance of being multicultural, to understand different cultures and not to be really egoistic about your own beliefs, because your own beliefs might not be the beliefs of a different person, and it's just respect.
Okay. So the calculation, let's say like you're happy for it.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, that's a good one. And what about you?
As for me, I absolutely love being multicultural. As a matter of fact, because I'm a Japanese heritage as well. I keep encountering Japanese people from like in the Philippines and even here in Indonesia when we went to, what's that place called?
What was the place?
We
went to Prambanan?
Yeah.
Prambanan, okay.
There was a Japanese group, and then when I got close to them, I was like, and I started them to go first, and they were like, no, arigato, and then they thanked me. They were speaking Japanese while they were in a different country. And it's also what Nick pointed out, and here in 21st century, a lot of like the people who are they're feeling lonely, there's no thrill in their life, their life doesn't feel adventurous, that there's the option. You have the option to like fly around, see the world, experience a different culture. And again, it's not just about yourself. There are other people out there who you can connect with, and I'm actually one of those kinds of people who also want to like meet new people from different nations, countries, and want to like connect with them, and how is their culture? Do they speak English? And are there any similarities within their culture? Things like that. It's literally, it gives an emphasis on the saying, no man is an island, because we humans, all of us are social creatures, and the fact that connecting with like different language, different culture, different nationality, it just feels right. Like that connection is just, it's captivating. So yeah, being multicultural has a lot of advantages and benefits, because it's not just because, well, you have the connections, but you can also have the opportunity to study or to work abroad, and there's so many things that you can try. And I don't really know why a lot of people are like limiting themselves to just their country. Just explore. There's so much out there to find out. Then that's the best way to have a life, is to just explore, find out, try new things. There's so many things out there to find.
Okay. So what of you like to be exploring and not staying at your cultures? Like, let's looking for new cultures and learn about that, right?
Yeah, that's
exactly
like
what
here.
That's why you guys here. Okay, appreciate it. That's appreciable. Can you have a point? And then this is going to be a reflections questions that if you can give an advice to learner or like a teachers in Indonesian, what would be? Why would it be? Okay, I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah. If I was to give an advice, I would just give you this sentence: practice more, think less.
Okay. Simple, but
Because the more you think about your language, about what words to choose, what to speak about, what to talk, or who to talk about, there are many barriers that exist in us.
Yes.
For example, I have many friends, I have many acquaintances who think that they don't really have a lot of opportunities to speak English.
Yep.
They all have their phones, they have Wi-Fi, LTE, anything, 4G. Just open any video chat relay or join any Discord server, start talking to people. That's it. That's a free practice. You want to learn something new, just find a book online. You want to make an exercise, go to ChatGPT. Everything is available.
Yeah.
But people just don't take the chance. They
Yeah.
don't really want to, do something. They think about doing something, but not actually. So, and of course, when you speak, when you do something, you practice, that's right. And the more you practice, the less mistakes you have.
Oh.
Of course, you are expected to make mistakes. I've been learning English since I was 4. I think Spencer has been learning English since around age like that.
Yeah, it's a time.
Honestly, yeah. And when you think a lot, it actually prevents you from performing and exceeding your boundaries and your limits. That's what I think. What about you, Spencer?
Well, I actually agree with that. The thing is, there's so many tools that everyone can use to learn English. Listen, like this podcast right here. If you listen to because we're speaking in English, maybe if you watch this podcast, you can get a couple of English words, sentences, and that is actually how I learned English. My father was like, he noticed that as I was watching a Hollywood movie, and he was like, "Oh, son, I'm going to change this to a different one." He switched it into a British series because he wanted me to learn because English is from the UK, so he wanted to be authentic and correct. So I learned more about the British English than American one, which is actually something that is used in the Philippines as well, American English. But yeah, going back to the point is that there's so many opportunities, so many tools that Indonesian students, Indonesian teachers can use and integrate it into their lessons, especially when it comes to learning a new language, not just English. It can be Nihongo, it could be Mandarin, it can be Italian, maybe it can even be Tagalog. So yeah, everything we're already at the digital age. Everything is provided, and it's better to utilize it instead of just letting it be. And also, another next point is that practice makes perfect. And I know you're going to, overthinking is such a common thing with those people. I don't want to talk to myself. I'm going to sound crazy. No, talking to yourself actually.
That's what I'm doing.
I keep talking to myself in English, just to practice, and I get all the burden on the nervousness that is within me. It just goes away. I speak much more confidently. I'm much more expressive. So yeah, you just have to practice and use your tools that are given to you instead of just letting it be. Take the opportunity before it goes away.
Okay, so let me tell you guys something that it is actually really good advice for especially for the teachers in Indonesian, because they're always focusing on grammar lessons all the time. It's whenever you start to learning, you got how do you say what? Whenever the Indonesian teachers start to giving a lesson to the students, they always focusing on grammar, something that make them feel like English is actually really complicated, and they start to don't like it. That's one. And then teacher, mostly Indonesian teacher, with the way they learn, give a lesson to English. They always give a teacher as the center. They don't even give them way students to speak about what they opinion or other something kind of stuff like that, and that's really poor things. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for your advice. I'd like to say thank you very much for all our wonderful speakers today. Yeah, Mr. Okabe and also Mr. Nikki from Adamson's University. And I think that's it from me. I'm Nadia Rotorjana. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.